If you could have one thing in this life, anything, and time, money, and distance were no barrier, what would it be? Before you answer that question, let me share a story. In 2004, at the age of 17, my brother-in-law Wesley was diagnosed with an aggressive form of leukemia. Now, he was a vibrant, energetic, likable, lovable young man. He loved his family, he loved his friends, he loved life. Wesley had a unique way of expressing his love for life. He loved his trucks, he loved Auburn football and Dothan High marching band. He loved music. But when he was approached and posed with the question, if you could have anything of any value, what would it be? He didn't respond with wanting to meet a famous movie star or an athlete, and he didn't respond with a request for an extravagant amount of money or some extravagant gift. His response shook me to my core. His response was this: I want to grow up old enough to be a husband and a father. That was the response of Wesley Dunchev just months before he passed away at the age of 18 from leukemia. I learned a valuable lesson from a young man about relationships. I learned that I had taken for granted as a young father and as a young husband, I had taken for granted the most important thing in my life, and that was relationships. You see, because at the end of our lives, each of us, we're not going to ask for more things. We're not going to wish we had more stuff or more money or bigger bank accounts. At the end of our life, we're going to wish we had better relationships, because that is the fulfilling piece of life. But life is sometimes messy, and sometimes it's complicated, and sometimes it's difficult, and there's conflict. But through all of that, with the proper relationships, whether it's deep, meaningful relationships, whether it's through your loved ones or friends, we can have people that are connected with us and community that walk with us through those times, through those challenging times. I remember a time about 10 years ago when my wife and I were both out of work. We had 2 young kids, and our third child was due within just a few short months. And as you can imagine, the pressure of that was overwhelming at times. But it was because, in part due to Wesley's perspective, that he gave me that beautiful gift. And he never knew that, but that gift that he gave me, that I was able to look back and see that those challenging times were not going to last. And that in the long run, the thing that mattered the most was relationships. It wasn't whether I had a great job or a big bank account or a super nice car or a big house. Yeah, those things are nice, but at the end of the day, we need each other. And yeah, there's people that are going to come against you. There's people that are going to say hateful things, and there's people that are going to trash your dreams, and they're going to trash your goals, and they're going to try to say things that bring you down. But if you have deep, meaningful relationships, this life has meaning. I remember another time when someone I looked up to as a role model, someone I considered a friend, said how worthless I was, and told me to my face how worthless I was, and that I should go and take my own life. And now, at the time, I was at a very low point in my own life. I was battling depression. And you may think that takes a lot of courage to stand before you and say. But you need to know that there are people out there that just because we have relationships with them, we're going to have challenges, we're going to have conflict. But at the end of the day, if we're willing to work through it, and if we're willing to face it and address it, we can have a better world, and we can have a better life. I didn't let those things stop me, and I didn't let those things slow me down. And I didn't let them keep me where I was at that point in my life. It didn't keep me where I was. I didn't let it keep me down. I used it as a motivating factor to move past where I was in my life. I used it as momentum to write my first 3 books, to start my business, and to stand before you where I am today. I used it as momentum and motivation to graduate from college at 34 years old as a first-generation college graduate. You see, it may not sound like a lot, but I realized that at the end of my life, I'm going to value relationships more than I value stuff. Because that's why we were created. That's why we're here. We need each other. We need community. Relationships are important to life because without relationships, without deep, meaningful connections, a life lived in isolation is a life lived in failure to its fullest. You're not going to live to your fullest potential. So my challenge to you is if today you look at life through a different perspective and you see life through a different lens and you say that relationships are more important than you thought before, that connecting with others has meaning and value, and that nothing anyone can say is going to stop you from pursuing what you're after in life, and that you understand that connected we can do anything together, that we can overcome hate, we can overcome evil, and we can do great things as a community, then I've done my job. Thank you.